Lighting a candle in the darkness is a powerful symbol of hope. The strength of even a single candle to dispel darkness is something I learned memorably as a Boy Scout. I went caving with my troop on a handful of occasions and gathered in a room in a cave with our headlamps combining, bouncing off the stalactites hanging from the ceiling, the stalagmites slowly rising up from the cave floor. We'd get into place and we'd turn off all our lights at once and sit in silence in the darkness that seemed denser in the cavern under the earth. Not the tiniest glimmer could leak in. The first time we did this, I was 12. I found the feeling of an abyss frightening. Surrounded by friends, I felt so completely alone. Then a leader struck a match to light a candle. That was enough. Our eyes could adjust to see so much more by that one point of light. This week, billions of Christians around the world mark the first Sunday of Advent. From the Latin word adventus, meaning coming, Advent is marked in the 4 weeks leading to Christmas. It's a time to remember that Jesus promised to come again. We look toward that second coming even as we prepare to celebrate his first Advent in Bethlehem. Lighting a candle in an Advent wreath is a way some churches mark this season, with an additional candle lit each week. A brief Advent wreath service in the home is a way an individual or a family can also keep this season. The hope held out by even a single flame is so needed in this year of pandemic. Some years ago, my wife Victoria and I experienced worshiping in the midst of a storm in a way that revealed something important to me about the hope of this season. A storm blackened the sky as we drove to church for a Sunday evening worship service. And as the liturgy progressed, rain loudly pelted the metal roof of the old church. At one point, thunder boomed and the power went out. Candles already lit. Worship continued without a pause. As we approached the breaking of the bread and communion, the bulletin noted worshipers are invited to hold hands during the Lord's Prayer. And to my left, I reached out for Victoria's hand as I had done for more than 3 decades. At the altar, in the emergency room, in a great variety of situations, we have held one another's hands. And then I reached back for a woman I couldn't see, readily took my hand when I did. Then we prayed. Jesus' words reciting in prayer, and we finished up, and the woman behind me squeezed my hand and let it go. It was the smallest of touches, but her squeeze felt meaningful, important. The touch we shared as the storm beat against the church made that communion all the more real. Coincidentally, the next day we watched the movie Toy Story 3. In the animated film, there's a scene where the toys we've come to love from the previous 2 films face what appears to be certain destruction. They're traveling down a conveyor belt toward a furnace, and despite bold attempts at saving themselves, no further options remain. Facing this moment of certain annihilation with no hope of rescue, no words are exchanged. However, there's this look of what now that passes over the faces of the toys. Then one reaches to hold another hand, and one by one they reach out and hold hands. In that moment of holding one another's hands in the face of uncertainty, relief comes in. Not that rescue is more likely, but the toys know that whatever they face, they will face it together. Hope is restored like a light shining in the darkness. When the toys reached out to hold hands, showing their love for one another in a time of great uncertainty, I remembered powerfully the feeling of holding hands in the church the evening before. I knew then what the creators of Toy Story 3 showed so clearly when they animated the facial expressions of the toys. When that moment of now what comes, the hope is in not having to face the unknown alone. Togetherness changes nothing in the problem before us, and yet bearing one another's burdens, well, it makes everything different. We all share a longing, a need for hope. We need the word we find in John's Gospel, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. As we journey toward Christmas, lighting candles to mark the season, the hope we see in that light dispelling darkness is that whatever we face, we do not face it alone. This is true as the God who made us and loves us is with us always. And as we light candles to mark the season, we can also make calls to check in on those who are cut off because of the pandemic, to offer a hand and to share that hope. Even as we light candles, we can be that glimmer of hope for others this Advent. May the Lord bless you and keep you this Advent season. Make his face to shine upon you, be gracious to you, and give you his peace. Amen.